What's going on, guys? Tony K with UGSM. This past weekend we did a 2-day event in Urbana, Illinois called the Middlefork Flea Market, and I want to talk a little bit about it. So this was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. I did go out Friday because the setup time on Saturday was a little bit tighter than what I thought I might need. I'm glad I did that, and I'll explain why in a little bit. A couple things to note though for this event. First thing I'll say is that we did about 85 to 90% of our inventory was resale. Brought a lot of stuff that hasn't sold on eBay, things I haven't listed yet, stuff like that, just to fill out the table. And it seemed like last time we did the event with this group, our flea market resale stuff did better than our art. I did bring some art, including my new series of mixed media art, painting on like cabinet drawers and things like that, but you can see some vinyls up here as well. But like I said, mainly if you look down here below me, a lot of resale. So I mentioned it earlier, I'm glad that I went in the day before and dropped off stuff, because I did need about the full setup time to get everything out. This was easily the biggest resale focus that we've done at an event. Most of it's been online, or maybe like 25 to 30% of our booth is resale. This was a heavy amount, and there were some challenges with it. There are some things I liked and didn't like. For starters, even when you make a sale, it doesn't feel the same as when you sell a piece of your art or something you've handmade. Very much appreciate the sales, but I'll stand by this. The other thing that kind of stood out to me is that I feel like it takes a lot more work setting up and tearing down resale stuff than it does art. All kinds of different reasons. Mainly, I think it's because a lot of the art is like flat panels or whatnot, so it's easier to just kind of stack and go. The resale stuff took a while to set up and do. This was my view during the market, or during the event, excuse me, and don't be mistaken here. There was the first like 6 hours of the day on Saturday were super busy. That's why I don't have a lot of photos, but it was a great spot to people watch, so that was pretty cool. This is a photo of the second day when people were starting to show up to open up for the day. People who live in the area around Lincoln Square know that it's got some growing to do. It's definitely a small mall that is, you know, your typical dine mall. I think they only have like 8 or 9 businesses, maybe 10 in there, but there isn't a ton of empty storefronts, so take that how you want. But the event itself was really cool. I mean, there was, I think, close to 100 vendors there, and it was a great selection of things. There were a couple of other artists, not a lot of painting. There was a few crochet people, and there were people that we knew. You guys have heard me say it before. One of my beliefs is that you need to kind of invest into the vendor community, make friends, talk to people, stuff like that. So that was kind of nice to see so many familiar faces and meet some new folks and talk to them. And Lincoln Square Mall, I really don't think is that bad. Again, people who have been in that area know that just like any other place in the world, it's got its ups and downs. Now, whenever people watch these kinds of summary videos, whether it's mine or others, there's always someone that's kind of curious about how you did financially. So we did just north of $200 in sales, and after setup, gas, and everything else, it wasn't a great profit, especially when like some of these items that we sold didn't have the highest profit margin. Adding it all up, I think we netted about 60 or 70 bucks after all of our fees and expenses. And I'm not going to pretend that that's great. I'm not going to pretend that that's good. I'm going to say though, this wasn't like a huge market in terms of foot traffic. There's about, like I said, there was about 5 or 6 hours on Saturday that it was jam-packed busy, and that's where we made a majority of our sales. And then between the last 3 or 4 hours on Saturday and then all day Sunday, not much was there. I think we did about 55 bucks the last $55 to $60 those last, you know, part after the first 5 hours basically. But just like with any other market, you don't know what you're going to be getting into. The price point to get in was not terrible in any way, shape, or form. You don't know what you're going to get out of it, so you're going to miss the sales if you don't show up, I guess is what I'm saying. Regardless, we will most certainly be back. The guy who runs this group, the Middlefork Flea Market, he does great. People pleaser for sure. He calls himself an empathetic human being. 100% agree. And I think he does a great job. He cares about people. He cares about how they're doing. We've met a lot of cool people at these events, so we'll keep doing them. But definitely a little bit on the disappointed side. Not a total bust. Did sell some things that like just need to get rid of them. And again, you're not gonna make sales if you don't go and sell stuff. Sorry if I ranted there. Just a lot of thoughts about the weekend. Overall, like I said, not terrible. We'll be back. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.